And Councilman Stein is with us. Dawn, if you could introduce yourself and your colleagues, and then make a very brief budget statement, and we'll go from there.
I will try to be as brief as I can. We have a lot to talk about this year, though, so I'll do the best I can. Thank you for having us here. I'm Dawn Diener. I'm the Metro Public Defender. To my right is Geraldine Manning, our Deputy Public Defender, and to my left is Annette Crutchfield, who is our Administrative Services Manager. So, of course, as usual, I always like to start these out by publicly and personally thanking the staff at the Public Defender's Office, who really are the success behind our office. They make me look better than I really am. They do a great job. They're dedicated to the work that we do at the Public Defender's Office, the clients, and the community that we serve. For anybody listening who doesn't know what the Public Defender's Office does,
I would assume you have a broad audience.
We represent individuals who are charged in Davidson County with committing a criminal offense who cannot afford to hire a lawyer. We also represent juveniles charged with delinquency offenses in juvenile court, and we have a few specialty programs in juvenile court where we provide guardian ad litem to children in need of a guardian, and we provide educational advocacy for at-risk youth in Metro Nashville Public Schools. So this year, like all of the past years that I've been the public defender, we have handled a outstanding volume of work at our office. This year, we handled in fiscal 13, we represented individuals in 25,486 cases that were concluded, and thousands more cases that were not resolved in fiscal 13. One other huge accomplishment that's gone on this year that we're really excited about is the renovations at our space in the adult division. Our lease was up at Parkway Towers this year, and so as part of the lease negotiations, we were able to have renovations to all of our space, and I do want to give a shout out to the Metro agencies who were and continue to be critical in making that a huge success for us. General Services has been great. ITS, the folks there have been wonderful in assisting with our computer lines and everything that we need related to our ITS needs, JIS, and of course the finance department has been of great help to us in getting that through. We hope to have an open house later this year in conjunction with Human Resources, which is also moving to Parkway Towers, to show off our new space. And I would say that the number one accomplishment for the space changes is our new lobby. It is the place where members of the public come to see us, to meet with us. It is a wonderful new space for them. It's much more welcoming. It's much larger. It provides a lot more confidentiality for the intake process for individuals who come into the office. And so I think for providing public service, it's a great improvement over where we were, and we're confident the space will meet our needs for the next 10 years going forward.
In all my 9 years as public defender, I never was able to do an extensive renovation.
Well, I appreciate, of course, the mayor's office's help in all of this as well. It really is. I'm so proud of the space. It's a wonderful space for individuals coming into the office. And the staff loves it. It's a great working space for them to come in and feel comfortable and feel like their work is valued as it should be. So those tend to be, we are plugging along on what we do every day. I think what I would like to talk about today is a little bit of the challenges that we're currently facing, and as that leads into some of the budget requests that we've made this year. And I want to start off by talking about one of our lawyers who came into my office within the last week. And she closed the door behind her and, trying not to cry, explained to me how she was going to have to leave the office because she was accepting a position elsewhere. And the reason that she was crying is because she said this was the best work she's ever done. She did not want to leave, but she needed to be able to support her family, and she could not do that on what we were able to offer her in compensation. And she went on to explain to me how, although she didn't want to leave the office, she accepted a position in the federal court system where she would be paid close to $30,000 a year more than what we were able to pay her. And this is a lawyer whose experience is worthy of that type of compensation. She had been with our office about 3.5 years, but she came with about 10 years of experience as a lawyer practicing out and before she came to our office. And so the type of salary that she's going to be able to get in her new position it's not something that's a windfall for her. It's what I would say the market values her at. And that is not the first story, unfortunately, that I've heard in the last several months like that. I have another lawyer in our office who I spoke with a few months ago who's been with us about 5 years. She is someone who is an emerging leader in the office. We were interested in promoting her to a leadership position, and when I went to talk with her about that, what concerned her most was whether or not she would have the time she needed to devote to that position, because even 5 years out from law school, she still works a part-time job in a restaurant on the nights and weekends in order to make ends meet for her. And so that's someone who's still with us, who is someone we want to keep, but who is still having to work outside of the office in order to pay her bills. And unfortunately, just a few months ago, I had an 11-year, probably I should say a few weeks ago, an 11-year lawyer with our office come in and advise me that she was going to be leaving. And she's leaving not to leave indigent defense. She's going to go do indigent defense work. She's going to go represent the same people that she's representing now. But she felt she needed to leave in order to try to generate more revenue for her and her family, to be able to drive her own income and hopefully her own advancement financially that she feels she needs to make in order to support herself. And one other lawyer in the last 8 months who left our office, and she left. She came into my office. She'd been with us for 3 years, and she was leaving to go work at the Post-Conviction Defender's Office, which is another office in Tennessee, in Nashville, that provides indigent defense services. And the reality of what she was facing, again, she was a lawyer who came to us with experience, 4 years or so experience, but she came to us at entry level. She had not received any merit or experience-based raises during the time she was with us. We were able to give a small raise last year, but we were too late for her. She had obtained the position with the Post-Conviction Defender's Office, and within a matter of the day she left our office to when she went there, she would receive a $15,000 pay increase over the course of the next 8 months. Gradually, but just leaving, she was going to start out $10,000 higher in the state system than she would be with us. These are the challenges that we are facing with our lawyers. And that is what's driving the major budget improvement request that we have made for this year. I am anxiously awaiting the results of the pay-pan study that Metro is doing, and I have no idea what it's going to say, but I can't imagine it's not going to support what I'm telling you today, and that is that right now, today, after 6 years of very hard times, the Public Defender's Office is suffering because we cannot afford to pay our lawyers what they are at market value. And it's not just the office that suffers, it's the whole Metro community, and it's the clients that we serve. Without the ability to retain talented lawyers who have been with us for 3 to 5 years, who have been trained, who have learned, and are so much more valuable to us 3 to 5 years out than when they came. Without the ability to retain them, we can't build depth in the office. We can't build the future leaders for the office that we need to be building. And we can recruit really talented folks to come to the office. Our starting salary is not so much the issue. It's the issue of keeping those folks with us. To just give you a brief rundown, a lawyer who's been with us for 4 years now is $5,000 behind their state counterpart. A lawyer who's been with us for 6 years is $8,500 a year behind their state counterpart. And that 11-year lawyer who's going to be soon leaving us is $11,000 behind her state counterpart. When I came to the office in 1996, I would venture to say that the salary compensation that we were receiving as Metro Public Defenders was equal to or frankly greater than what our state counterparts were receiving. We're not there anymore. We're well behind the mark, and we can't compete to keep the best talent. So in our budget improvement requests, you will see a substantial request. It's approximately $300,000. We believe that, and I came up with that number based upon what it would take to get our existing staff to what I would say is market value, and that's equivalent to their state counterparts. Not more, not less, but equivalent to their state counterparts. We can't begin to compete with their federal counterparts, and I wouldn't even try to do that. This is just asking for enough money to get our lawyers to the point where they're not substantially underpaid compared to assistant public defenders in the state system, so that we can keep the talent we have and keep the people who want to keep doing these work and are doing a great job. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the smart thing to do. I don't think we want to be investing in training these lawyers up to be great public defenders, great indigent defense lawyers, only to see them leave to go somewhere else. So that's our major budget improvement request this year. We have some others. Many of those other requests are based upon what our other challenge continues to be, which is a volume of workload that is immense. I quoted that number earlier, 25,486 cases. What that means, if you break it down, is 98 cases per workday that our office is closing. So that's a lot of cases. Now, and that's not just 98 driver's license cases. The volume of work that I'm talking to you about includes first-degree murder cases, over 5,000 felony cases, over 15,000 misdemeanor cases that we handled last year. And workload continues to be a growing concern of mine, particularly in the face of the fact that we have lawyers leaving for compensation issues. They're working really hard. They're not, just coming in at 8:30 and leaving at 4:30. They are working extra hours. They are working hard, and they're handling a volume of workload that, frankly, is too much, I would say. And so we continue to be understaffed. To put it in real numbers, the last weighted caseload study is almost ancient in terms of weighted caseload studies right now, but according to the numbers in that, the standards set in that, we're 22 lawyers short of where we need to be. We are 8 investigators short of where we need to be and 8 secretaries short of where we need to be.
It's a weighted caseload study from the state?
Yes, the Spangenberg study that was done back in '99. I believe there's a new one in the pipeline.
I was public defender in '99.
I remember. I was an assistant public defender who was filling out all of the time study forms that we were required to do at the time. There is a new study that's coming in the pipeline, I would expect in Tennessee, and I'm very excited that Nashville is the Nashville Public Defender's Office is one of 8 or 9 contenders for technical assistance from NACTL, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, to try to replicate a time study that was done in the Missouri Public Defender system here. And so we're hoping that they will select us, that they will come in, and they will help us gather the data we need to start to demonstrate exactly in real numbers, in real data, how hard our folks are working and in what the workloads are that we need to be. There is a lot developing right now across the country related to workload for public defenders. There was a federal court opinion issued just a few months ago in Washington State where the city of Wilbur was found to have municipal liability for failing to provide effective assistance of counsel to indigent defendants within their court system. And so I think that as there's more attention turned to this, that there are issues that the city itself needs to be worrying about, and whether or not we're providing effective assistance. It doesn't have to be the Cadillac model even. It just needs to meet the constitutional requirements of effective assistance of counsel. And so that's something that I've contacted the legal department about, and they've been very generous to talk with me about that, and are currently looking into those issues. So these are real concerns that we have, and I think they're worthy of continued review.
But that's, the age-old question in Nashville is that Nashville and Memphis are the sole largely locally funded public defender's office for what is generally acknowledged to be a state function and a state
Absolutely.
responsibility.
Absolutely.
And so at various times you have, and I think for most of the history of the public defender's office, I would say the Nashville office was probably a much more desirable place to work for a lot of reasons than the state system, including compensation, training offered, and other things.
Right.
But a big issue here is essentially what compensation the city gets from the state. And so in terms of, there's really two funding sources. We're compared to, I'd say, any other city, much more aggressively involved in public defender funding than any place else in Tennessee. And the state responsibility is fairly large. What's the hope for relief there?
Well, that was our crusade last year. As I believe you all are well aware, and that was a crusade for a couple of years. And last year we were successful as a city.
This year.
This year, there's not a lot of hope for any much movement from the state.
You're never going to get to the point where you're going to, if the state says you need X and then doesn't fund it, it's hard to see a scenario under which we could do everything you ask. And that's been the case for as long as I can remember.
Yes.
And
I would agree.
And there is ultimately the vast majority, it's not city court cases you're handling. You're not handling Metro Code violations. You're handling state crimes.
Exactly.
And that state element is something that has to be part of these discussions.
I agree 100%. I think that Metro government does do its part here, and I've continued to believe and to speak on the fact that I think it is the state that is falling down in its obligation to fund public defense work in Nashville. My suggestion for that, and one avenue that we're looking at, is if the state is not willing, to fund to additional positions, to put the resources in, if the workload is going to continue to stay where it is, but resources will not go up, I think the solution we probably need to be thinking about is reducing workloads for the public defender's office. And when we reduce workloads for the public defender's office, what happens essentially is the courts have to appoint private attorneys to represent individuals.
When you were probably working with me when we went through this scenario before, where the Indigent Defense Fund essentially evaporated and the courts didn't have money to pay private attorneys. We started appointing people. The money wasn't adequate that was coming into the public defender's office, really Metro and Memphis, for us to do to hire the people we need. It's a complex issue. I obviously understand what you're saying.
I know you do.
And I get it, and we'll do the best we can.
Right, and I think having a strategy for deciding how we're going to go forward is what my responsibility is, to try to address all of the issues and devise the best strategy that I can recommend. And so that's what I do.
But the city's always in the position where you're in a somewhat more advantageous position, where at times the state funding is the issue, and the state funding goes away, and there have been periods where the office has really benefited from through its ties to Metro and being a Metro office.
Absolutely.
And then there are times when maybe the pay scales get off a little bit, but that's an issue for you all for you to decide where you feel it's best. I have always felt that when I was public defender, and most certainly last time I thought about it in any depth, that being part of the metropolitan government has been overall a very positive thing for the public defender's office, overwhelmingly. But
I would agree.
People could disagree and think there's more money elsewhere. I don't know.
No, I would agree. I think we do the work well, and I think we do the work with much fewer resources than we would if we were, doing it in any other manner. But it continues to be a problem, and
I get it.
I know you do.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, great job.
Oh,
I don't want to end without saying that I know how hard everybody working. I understand what you all do for our community, and I know what a great job you do personally, and I'm very proud that you're my public defender.
Thank you.